Booger, what are your expectations for the Raiders this year? Because I got to admit to you, I don't have much. I'm not comfortable with what I'm seeing Jon Gruden do. You don't even call Khalil Mack, for crying out loud. I'm not sold on Derek Carr. This defense, you said, wasn't good when they had Khalil Mack, if you're Jon Gruden. What's the expectation for them right now as you get set to cover them tonight?
Well, I think Jon Gruden is supposed to bring a lot of juice to this offense. He's a juice guy. He's an offensive genius. When I played for him, our offense was dynamite. He has the best quarterback that he's ever had in Derek Carr. He has a pretty good offensive line, especially the interior three with Jackson, Hudson, and Assembly. So he has something to build around. My concern is their defense. You get rid of your best player in Khalil Mack, and on top of that, you don't bring any other big-time guys in that can help and take the place of that guy. So I think their defense is going to struggle. They're going to have to outscore a lot of people. I think a good year for Oakland right now would probably be 8-8. They would take that. I don't think the expectations are truly high. And to your point, Max, about the pressure after game one, I think when you look at Jon Gruden, this is a long-term play. The reason they gave him a 10-year deal because it's not about this year or next year. It's about getting this team to Las Vegas, getting that stadium sold out, and bringing the magic back. Not to Oakland, but bringing it back to Las Vegas.
10 years?
Well, I mean, they gave him a 10-year deal. There's a reason they gave him that much money.
What happened to 6 years? What happened to 6 years and $60 million instead of $100 million? Especially when you can find money for Khalil Mack, but you can find money for Gruden, but you can't find money for Khalil Mack.
I think it's a long-term play, Stephen A., because I think the Raider organization realizes one thing. When Gruden was traded away to my Buccaneers, there was unfinished business. And Al Davis and Gruden, even though they butted heads, there was always a feeling of how come we couldn't just finish the job? And Jon told us yesterday the reason he came back because he always felt like that there was something left to be finished. So this is not about this year. So if the Raiders go 7-9, 6-10, his seat's not going to be hot because this is a long-term play. They guaranteed a lot of money to him, not for this year, next year, but for the next 10 years, and I think they're going to be in it for the long haul with him.
Booger, I think the reason I'm putting that out there, the fact that that will be out there like in the ether, is because the Raiders, who have not been a good organization for a long time, you know, since Al Davis started to lose it, and he was starting to lose it, they have not been good. And it's not like Mark Davis is doing so much better either. They had one season where they seemed to be on the rise. Their point differential was not as good as their record even. And my point is they identified Gruden as the guy. There's the guy. We trust his judgment over the long haul. They had to give him all that money because he had a great job over here, and he was getting paid a lot, and you got to lure him out, right? But my point is, if right as soon as you hit the ground, you know, instead of running, you're limping because you trade a Hall of Famer in his prime and you don't get back enough, and then you get blown out, that could snowball from day one. Don't you think that doesn't have a chance to backfire on the organization right away?
It'll backfire tonight because I think Khalil Mack showed everyone last night that he's worthy of being right there in the same category as Aaron Donald. And Jon Gruden's plan said, you know what? I really don't need Khalil Mack. And I think the entire country was saying, you don't need that guy that almost wrecked the Green Bay Packers' entire game plan. You can't use that guy. And I don't want to hear about the excuses about the cash strapped and money. There was a fundamental flaw between Jon and Khalil Mack's camp. I don't know what that flaw was. I'm looking forward to talking to Khalil Mack next week. I just know on the Raiders side, they reached out, they tried to call him, they tried to get in touch with him, and they couldn't get a deal done. And so if you're looking at this Oakland Raider team and Jon Gruden gets his money, but one of the first major moves he makes is he doesn't give your franchise player, quote unquote, Khalil Mack, his money, you're just wondering what the plan is. They're the oldest team in football right now. That brings back memory because when he got to Tampa, he turned our Buccaneers into an older football team, and we saw how that ended. I just wonder how this is going to end here in Oakland. You got 31 new players out of the 53 from last year. It's an old team. You got the best quarterback you've ever had in Derek Carr, but you don't have a lot of playmakers on defense. I just want to see the plan come to fruition because I, like a lot of people around the country right now, don't get the plan as a whole at this moment.
Well, your thoughts about the Rams real quick. And Ndamukong Suh in the offseason, Marcus Peters, Aqib Talib, you re-signed Todd Gurley, you ripped up his contract and gave him an extension. Your thoughts about what you're seeing from the Rams real quick.
I think the Rams have a 2-year plan. It's not necessarily about Super Bowl or bust this year, even though that's their goal, but they can do these contracts with Donald and Sue and Talib for the next 2 years. Here's what happens on that defense. Aaron Donald, I think, is the third best player in football behind Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. He's better than everybody else but those two. But he's kind of a quiet superstar, Stephen A. So you bring in Talib, you bring in Peters, you bring in Sue. You bring some guys that can bring some swag to this defense. And now a defense led by Wade Phillips with the best player player in football on defense, in my opinion. Now that it has swag, this team is going to be a whole lot to deal with. And I think they are looking at this game as a measuring stick. Last year's gone. Now we're in a new year. Can we come back and show people, now that people are hunting us, that we still can get the job done?